Minnesota United take on Colorado Rapids, July 22nd at 9:30 p.m. in the MLS is Back tournament.
Big games need big goals!
Tonight's show is brought to you by Allianz. Allina Health, official orthopedic partner of Minnesota United. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Minnesota, better together, you and blue. And M Health Fairview, please protect yourself and others by wearing a mask when in public spaces. We all have to do our part. Wear yours, Minnesota. Hello there and welcome to our match recap show brought to you by Minnesota United. Callum Williams here alongside Kyndra D. St. Aubin as always. And today to help us look back at the last result for Minnesota United, that 0-0 tie against Real Salt Lake, is a former MLS Cup winner, former Portland Timbers assistant manager, now one of our own. Sean McAuley joins us. Sean, how are you doing?
I'm okay. Okay, thank you. We're getting into more of a routine down here, so it's become a little bit more normal.
How long did it take to get into that routine?
I think it was, first few days are a bit awkward, and but now we know where we're training, and we know what the field is. We know we've got to go and do testing. We know where, when and where to get us meals from and things like that. So it's, it is what it is. It's a bubble, and we're in it, and we're here to play. So it's getting a little bit more normal. How have the coaching staff and the players dealt with being in such a bubble from a psychological point of view over the course of the last, 2 weeks you've been there now? It's been a long time. Yeah. I mean, the players have been great, to be fair. They've adopted, the challenge of coming to play games and train, in this environment, away from the families. They've been fantastic. Coaching staff, as always, they're always good company to be around. So that's a given. But yeah, I would give the credit to all the players for showing a fantastic attitude towards training and playing.
Is it getting to be a bit of a grind? I mean, how do you balance that excitement of the first match to get going and get playing again? And then as the grind goes on, you're away from your family. How do you balance that on a daily basis?
That's probably a little bit tough, missing things from back home, obviously, but we're here to work. The fortunate thing is, in terms of the days being filled, there's constantly football on TV. So you get the European stuff in the afternoon, and then we'll go down and have something to eat, and then we're back up for the MLS is Back tournament. So we're constantly able to have his minds on football, which is never a bad thing.
Before we go and break down the game against Real Salt Lake, Sean, from the other night, just your overall thoughts on the game and a point game for Minnesota United.
Yeah, I think looking back at the game and my thoughts were at the time we didn't play very well. We can play a lot better, but I would say in reflection, the conditions of what we had to face in terms of the heat and the humidity, and also the time of the game. I think the manager made a good point. It's the first time we started a game on one day and finished it on another, which, at that time, your body clock and, science would tell you that it's difficult. You're not the most optimum state to run around. But credit to the players again, they did do it. And I thought in the end, we were the team that probably had the better chances to win the game.
I did hear as well, before we get to the highlights here, Sean, I spoke to one or two people down in Orlando, and they said it was unbelievably humid on that particular night as well.
Yeah, so it made the game, I mean, what our team's like, and the way the manager sets the team, we play with a lot of energy, a lot of passion, a lot of desire, and it was difficult with the humidity. It was insane, trying to get the players going. But like I said before, if you look at the last sort of 15 minutes, we were the team that were on the front foot and had the ascendancy to try and get the winning goal. So it was tough conditions, but the players fought through it really well. Hopefully we get a better environment, better conditions, and we start playing a little bit better, as we know we can do.
So let's go to the highlights, shall we? And Kyndra D. St. Aubin, I think it's safe to say it was a relatively tame opening 45 minutes, but Minnesota very nearly took the lead right in the last minute.
Well, we talked about this. If they would have been able to get one on the board just before half, of you saw some glimpses and moments. And coach, as we take a look, we know you're a defensive mastermind, but I would like to get your take a little bit on, Minnesota United, when they're going out in transition and they're breaking out into shape, or you have a player like an Ozzy Alonso, who can sit in front, but Robin Lod, you find him with the ball, you're able to transition and go forward. What are you guys looking for from the back line to the midfield to the front to be able to transition, particularly on this chance by Robin Lod?
I think the big thing, and you can see with this chance, a lot of players are running forward. It's one of the most important things is run towards the opposition's goal, and Ozzy does great taking the ball forward. And I think if you look, Robin makes a really good run, but we've also got 3 players in the box. So it was, again, once Ozzy picks the ball up, people have that desire to score the goal. And Ozzy plays a great ball through, and Robin's done just about everything apart from hit the back of the net. And then again, Ethan does great to get the rebound. And I thought the keeper did quite well, getting across his goal pretty quickly and getting himself set for a save.
And just going back again to the conditions of that night, I mean, we're in stoppage time of the first half there, and you made that comment right there. Bodies inside the box. And we talked about this on the commentary as well. You've got Ozzy Alonso breaking free, taking his space up the middle. How important is the positioning of Robin Lod to be able to receive the ball between the 2 center backs, forcing them to kind of make a decision, and his clean first touch and quick shot, and then Ethan Finley not giving up on the play? Those are all things that maybe people may not notice the first time through, but you as a coaching staff have to be delighted with that effort and that positioning in that first half.
Yeah, and like I said, it's near enough a game of opposites, isn't it? So when we're defending, we want to try and stay as close to the opponent as possible. And when we're attacking, we need to get ourselves free. And Robin does really good getting in between the 2 defenders. But then you've also got the other 2 players who are unmarked. But I thought Ozzy played the perfect pass because he played the one that was closest to the goal. And other than hitting the post, like I said, that would have taken us 1-0 up going into the half time. And the way we played in the second half was better. And I think we might have gone out to win the game by more than 1 goal in the end.
Well, and if you look back at, the second half, we talk about chances. You miss an opportunity with Robin going into the first half. And then if we move on to the next opportunity, which was Robin Lod's opportunity on a breakaway, again, we're talking crazy conditions and the heat and everything. He's got the ball, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it looks like he's trying to possibly wait for a teammate to come alongside of him and join him in the attack, but he also knows he's got to take his opportunity. He's got 2 or 3 players that are up on his back, on his heels, trying to keep that space and keep the ball and make the right decision. Couple things here defensively. What do you think of RSL shape and Robin breaking out, McMath with a fantastic save? Did Robin make the right decision there to take that on his own, in your opinion?
I do, yeah, because I think when you look at it, when the ball comes to him, he's the furthest one forward, and he doesn't want to pass the ball back. So from that moment there, he's got one idea, and then you look at these 5 defenders around him, and the ability that Robin has is, we all know he's left-footed, but he's quite strong on his right side. So I think he was trying to draw the defenders in to get it onto his left, but I think he also had 2 minds of, if I take this to the right, he's got a shot at goal. In the end, I think it's a fantastic save.
And even going back to how the play began, the quick breakout, the intelligence of the back line of Tyler Miller on this turnover, on this opportunity by RSL to find that outlet. How important is that? Roma Montanera with the engine like nobody else. How important is that on the quick transition? And then you see that 1-2 in the middle of the field.
It's really important, and I think that's what the good thing is they show a lot of composure in them defensive moments. Ideally, we don't want the opponent to have a shot at goal, but there's not many 0-0 games in the game worldwide, so we understand that we're going to have moments where we have to defend. I think the biggest thing of our defending on that night was the concentration, because there was real moments of a lot of play without the ball, because obviously teams were keeping possession. So for our lads to keep the concentration was really good, and that allowed us then to get up the field and counter-attack.
Well, and just, when you guys are looking at tape, the game after, the day after, or even prepping for the next team, how far do you go back in that tape? I mean, I'm assuming you don't just look at Robin Lod's opportunity, or in this one here, this is the next opportunity. This was an RSL chance late in the match. Sam Johnson would just come on as a substitute late in the game and nearly poked one past the keeper. But how far back do you guys go in the tape to discuss and analyze what you need to do on the next play? How many passes backwards?
Yeah, but I think it depends on what we want to do in terms of the individuals. I mean, if we've asked somebody to do a certain job on the field and they've done it, and it's then led to good play, led to a chance at goal, led to somebody stopping the goal, and it's basically the players have done what we want from them, we'll go as back as far as we can. We usually, though, clip things into short chunks because players are human beings at the end of the day. And it's difficult to keep that concentration for such a long time. We want to be succinct in the information that we're giving them, so we try and cut it up pretty short. But if there is something in there that we think is valuable that leads to something else, we'll really, really highlight that.
On this particular play with Sam Johnson and Real Salt Lake's breakout at near the end of the second half there, what did you make of the defensive shape? Was there a gap in midfield, a hole there? How do you feel that your players in front of Tyler Miller did on sliding over and covering? Chase Gasper had been up a little bit higher. Roman Metzner had to come in underneath and cover. How do you feel like the back line did, particularly in this shape where they did the 1-2 out wide and then found Sam Johnson in the middle of the park?
I thought they did okay because at one point we were outnumbered. So we were backing off and trying to close the space out and make the goal look as small as possible. We were trying to force them into an area where it makes the save easier. And to be fair to Salt Lake, they play a really good through ball. But I think if you look at Tyler, and I've been watching Stuart, work with all the goalkeepers, obviously, in relation to the back four. He comes out and spreads himself. And for that player taking the shot, the goal must look like a stamp. He's really made the goal look small by coming and attacking the opponent. And I think it's great goalkeeping. But we were at one point, I think, going to be outnumbered. I think it's at that point there. Mm-hmm. So then we have to drop off and try and make the goal look as small as possible by forcing them into a wider area. But it's a great through ball. Once that happens, Tyler's then the emergency defender. He comes out and makes it look really small. And I do think if it was on target, he would have saved it. So that's probably the best part of his job is he's covering the goal.
Yeah, I think if you're RSL, you can't ask for a much better breakout there. The back pass to the out wide to the right-hand side, and then maybe just a hair too late to get Sam Johnson on the through ball. But what do you make of the center back pairing so far with Michael Boxall and Jose Aja? That, you guys knew going into this that Ike Opara was not going to be with you, at least for the group stage. What do you make of the job that Jose Aja has done and the back line in general throughout this tournament?
I think they've been fantastic. I really do. I think they've probably looked like maybe the best defensive unit in the competition out of all the teams. I think they've looked like the best unit. And I say that because there's been some crazy goals going in this tournament. It can, like last night, it can run away from you because of the conditions and everything else. But they've stood really strong and solid. And, we sometimes don't highlight it as much, but I certainly did with the players in terms of Jose Aja took one in the face to stop the ball going in there. And them little things are so valuable for the team. So the manager's really good that he recognises everything that happens on the field, and the players then get that sense of responsibility to go out and it's a win at all costs. And the back four and the goalkeeper have been, I think, probably the best defensive unit in the competition so far.
Sean, how important was it for Tyler Miller psychologically to have a good game after the mistake against Kansas City? No doubt about it. I think he regained a lot of confidence by making several saves you would expect him to make against Sporting KC. But it must have been so important for him to go up against RSL, make a couple of other good saves and to not concede. Yeah,
I mean, for goalkeepers and defenders, the clean sheets are as good as a striker scoring a goal. So for him to get the confidence of that, I would say that I think the confidence of him also comes from the manager and Stuart, because he made a mistake, but he got told, you just keep doing what you're doing. You're not in any way, shape or form to blame for anything that happens with negativity in and around the team. He's been fantastic. But I think it was important for him personally to have a clean sheet and a good game. And regarding the goal, I've seen, because I've obviously been in the league quite a few years, I've seen Nick Raimondo do that, what Tyler tried. And I'm not kidding you, probably about 50 times, and be successful with it. So hats off to Kyrie, who went through and he saw him do it and he passed it into the net. I've been on the receiving end of where players have just passed it into the goalkeeper's hands in the middle of the goal, and it's difficult for the player at that moment. So hats off to him for scoring. Tyler made a decision and it just didn't come off. But I've seen it come off many, many, many times.
At the other end of the field, you gave Aaron Schoenfeld his first start in Minnesota United colours. How did he fare for you that evening?
I thought it was excellent. I think he gives us something different. In the first 15 minutes against RSL, I thought he linked the play up really well. He's always in a position where we can pass the ball to him. He backs into defenders and he gives us something, a platform to build off when we're going through our attacking play. It was difficult for in the second half. It was the conditions and everything else, and we lost Kevin, so we changed the shape a little bit, added a few more players in, and like I said, in the end of the game, I think we were unlucky not to win it.
Speaking of that shape and Aaron Schoenfeld and the difference he makes, we saw Luis Amarilla come in the second half. And tactically, what was sort of the conversation at halftime, or what do you see going forward into this final Colorado game as we're looking to see Minnesota get some points and get on the board and get out of this group stage?
Yeah, I mean, nobody takes anything for granted, but I think looking at the amount of teams that can qualify, I think we might, if we have to rely on other results, we do, but I think we might be there or thereabouts now. But I think our focus is completely away from that in terms of getting us a third place finish, second place, first place. I think we took these 3 games as league games. We want to win every one of them. I think we're 10 points after 4 games now. And usually if you get 10 points after 5, you probably win the Sports Shield at that 2 points per game average. So if we can get another 3, then that stands us in really good stead for, the season after this competition. I think once we get into the knockout stages, then that'll be different. I think that'll be all guns blazing to try and win it.
Sean, before we let you go, you christened the tournament as rather chaotic a few days ago, I heard you say. What have you made of this MLS is Back tournament so far and the nature of it?
I think it's fantastic now that we're all here and we're all playing, and we can give the supporters something to cheer and to look at, because it affects many, many people, not just the players and the players and families and the staff and families. Supporters want to see us play. They want to see us win. They want to cheer for something. So for all the clubs, I think it's fantastic that we're here and we're playing. In terms of what it's done in terms of sort of results for us, I think it's been good for us in terms of that. I think if we can pick up another win, then that will put us in a position where we'll be top of the West, probably in around the conversation for the top of the Sports Shield, and then we take the season from pick it up from where we leave it off when we get back to normal.
Well, Sean McAuley, thank you very much for joining us from down in Orlando. And my thanks as always to Kyndra, D. St. Aubin for joining us as well. And to you at home, Minnesota United will look to claim that victory once again. This time they go up against Colorado Rapids on Wednesday evening, 9:30 p.m. Central on ESPN. Of course, you can join us on the radio side of things on Score North. Thanks once again for your company. And for all the latest on Minnesota United, keep it right here on MNUFC.com.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Allianz. Alina Health, official orthopedic partner of Minnesota United. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Minnesota, better together, you and blue. And M Health Fairview, please protect yourself and others by wearing a mask when in public spaces. We all have to do our part. Wear yours, Minnesota.
Found the side, die! A goal from your man! From the man! Catch them if you can! O'Para. Forward now for Marino, who's in!
Minnesota United take on Colorado Rapids, July 22nd at 9:30 p.m. in the MLS is Back tournament.
Big game!